It is Kieran Trippier. It is delicious! Glorious! Glorious!
Walker in there too. Luke Shaw! Harry Kane wants it played into him. He chooses Grealish instead. It's Grealish! It's Kane! Nothing like this has happened for a long time. Here's the overhead kick from Kane. Palmer finds Watkins. Watkins turns! Watkins scores!
Hello and welcome back to the Gate 102 podcast. I hope you're doing well, and as always, thank you for tuning in to this episode. Last time I looked at England's, rather wild 5-3 win over Kosovo, which was held at St Mary's Park. Obviously, goals flying in everywhere, mistakes at the back from both teams. It was definitely one of the most chaotic nights of Southgate's reign. If you haven't listened to that one yet, it's available now wherever you get your podcasts, and yeah, do check that one out as it's a crazy game, really. But today we move on to the next Euro 2020 qualifier, and this one brought England's 43 unbeaten run in qualification games to an end. It was England away at Czech Republic, Friday night football, under the lights. But yeah, things just didn't go to plan. And like I say, after 43 games and not losing a qualifier, whether that be World Cup or European, this was the game that ended that longevity. So I'll start with a team selection. Southgate made just a few changes from the win against Kosovo. Pickford remained in goal. Kieran Trippier returned at right back. Michael Keane and Harry Maguire were the centre-backs once again. And Danny Rose was on the left. And this is actually the last time we saw Rose for England. Last time he wore the England shirt after 29 appearances. So yeah, this game sort of marked the end of his time. In midfield, Declan Rice and Jordan Henderson were the deeper two, with Mason Mount playing slightly ahead. And Mount, this was actually his first competitive start, so he'd come off the bench a few games, but it was good to see him being given a full start. And up front, it was the same front three that managed to score 5 goals against Kosovo a month earlier. Sterling on the left, Kane in the middle, and Sancho on the right. And the way these three linked up last game was immense. Like I say, you'll have to listen to it if you've not already, as I talk a lot about the front three of Sterling, Kane and Sancho and how dangerous they were. So once again, on paper, a really strong side, and England came into the match having scored 19 goals in the first 4 qualifiers. So yeah, confidence was sky high. And the game started perfectly. Just 5 minutes in, England were awarded a spot kick. Raheem Sterling was brought down in the box. A clear and obvious foul. No doubt about it. No doubt a penalty. And then, the captain, Harry Kane, steps up and, as you'd expect, tucked it away with power, precision to open the scoring and add another goal to his tally. 1-0 England. Dream start. And also, I say, as expected, he actually missed his last penalty in the Kosovo game. So I suppose it was nice that he made amends from the fact that he missed last game. It's good to just see him scoring again. And I mentioned before how England has scored 19 goals in 4 games. So part of me was thinking, especially given we had that early goal, is that it would be a repeat of the previous games. England get the first, and then they'll just keep on coming, and we'd go on to score 4 or 5. Part of me is expecting the same outcome, and maybe that shows just how far this England team had come. The fact that I was sort of expecting to score 4 or 5 goals away from home. But from the point of the penalty, things started to unravel a bit, really. Just 4 minutes after the opening goal, Czech Republic equalised from a corner. And yeah, it was all a bit messy. England didn't deal with the delivery and sort of bundled in at the back post, 1-0. And you could sort of feel the momentum shift immediately. And the game was back level. And the rest of the first half was frustrating, really. England couldn't really get a grip of midfield. Mason Mount struggled to really get on the ball and show what he could do. And we weren't really getting the ball to the wide players like Sancho and Sterling. And they were a bit quiet. And and Kane was feeding off scraps, really. It just wasn't really going our way. And the Czechs, meanwhile, they were growing in confidence. They pressed well, forced mistakes, and just looked the more aggressive side, whereas England just looked just a little bit flat. But it was 1-1 at the break, but if I'm honest, England probably lucky to be level because it was not a good first 45 minutes. And if I'm honest, I was thinking, Southgate would have maybe changed something at half time or maybe instilled a bit of confidence in the team. But yeah, the second half just didn't really get any better. England just couldn't find any rhythm, and there was a lack of cohesion between midfield and attack, really. And defensively, we looked a bit vulnerable, especially when the Czech Republic attacked down the flanks. The pace of their attack caused problems to Keane and Maguire, who, let's be honest, weren't the quickest. I suppose that's the disadvantage where you've not got Walker in your team, because when you got that pace, Walker can deal with that counter-attack. But when he's not in your team, it leaves the defence quite isolated. So yeah, the counter-attack and the wingers for Czech Republic were really dangerous. Pickford made a couple of decent stops in the second half to keep it level, but the warning signs were there. And throughout the half, and it just wasn't like the England we were used to seeing under Southgate. It was all a bit uneven, and you could sort of sense that the goal from the home side was coming, and so it came in the 85th minute. Czech Republic took the lead, and it was a frustrating goal because just a lapse in concentration at the back, really. And the scorer of this goal, whose name I won't try and pronounce because I'll just get it wrong, but this is his first international debut at 30, and he caps it off with a goal. So, from close range, so such a great way for him to start your international career, scoring the goal that ended a 43-game unbeaten run in qualification for England. But that goal meant Czech Republic were 2-1 up and were taking the lead. And to be honest, it had been coming, and you couldn't really complain. But England had no real response, and that's the thing that annoyed me more than anything in this game. Is when we went behind late on, there was no late rally, to be honest, because you'd expect if you're losing 1-0 with 10 minutes to go, there'd be a massive urge to try and get an equaliser and a bit of a spark, but there was just none of that. The game sort of fizzled out, and it was the hosts who claimed all 3 points. And yeah, I could go into many reasons as to why England lost, but I think ultimately it's just an off day. And you do get this, especially when everything had been really good from England for so long. It's natural that you're going to lose a game that on paper you should probably be beaten. But I think it proves the point that there's no easy game in international football. I mean, Southgate said after the game that England weren't good enough, and he talked about lessons to be learnt and the need to improve against high-level opposition. And it was hard to argue with him, really. At least he admitted that England weren't good enough and didn't pretend that it was a good performance, because whilst he was a positive and proactive manager, he also wasn't afraid of admitting that, well, when England don't play well, he's not afraid to admit that. But to the credit, this was the only qualification game that we lost under Southgate. In fact, the last time England lost a qualifying match before this game was 10 years before, and this was a 1-0 defeat to Ukraine away from home. So, an incredible achievement, really, to go so long without losing the game. And I'll give credit to managers like Capello and Hodgson, and even Big Sam for one game, who continued that record. And I know people say, look at the level of opposition, but to go 10 years without losing a qualifier is really impressive. But yeah, I think this game was a wake-up call, and after the free-flowing wins we had earlier in the group, I suppose this was a reminder that qualifying isn't always a walk in the park. But it was still very much in their hands, but this result made it clear that there was still a lot of work to do, especially with bigger tests coming in the future. But that's all for this episode. Next time, we'll look at England's next qualifier, and this was away to Bulgaria in Sofia. And that one, as many of you remember, was memorable for very different and very serious reasons. There's many occasions where Southgate stood out as a leader, but my next game is, I think, the pinnacle and the game where Southgate really showed why he's such a, not only a special manager, but a special leader as well. So that'll be coming next week. But until then, thank you for listening to this episode. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.